Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at each life path number, the forecast for June 2024. So June is coming in hot, and for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we are stepping into the summer months. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, I know things are a lot colder. But it is interesting because as we enter into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, I just found out that I have an allergy to grass. So it's making things interesting as people cut their yards. So curious if anybody out there has a similar allergy and how do you manage it during the spring, summer, and fall? Especially if you're an outdoorsy type of person like I am. So anywho, let's get into the forecast. But before we do that, this of course is a general forecast. If you're interested in your own personal numerology to find out more about the energies that you came here to work with in this lifetime, your current forecast, upcoming forecast, any of the good stuff, then book some time with me. I would love to work with you and take a look. All right, let's get into the June 2024 forecast. Life path number 9. So you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 14-5, as well as your animal wisdom energy of fly. So let's talk about it. All right, so the 14-5, there could be some things where you are sort of putting yourself in some kind of self-imposed prison, where your thoughts or even your actions are creating some kind of creating additional challenges that don't need to be there. It's almost like sometimes when we're really facing some kind of a challenge, so much of it is really the challenge that we're bringing upon ourselves, right? Obviously there's things that we have to overcome and challenges that we don't have any control over. And we have to find ways through them. But sometimes it really is, our thoughts about the situation. It is our perspective of the situation. It is how we're contributing to the situation that's making it challenging. So there could be some area of your life where you just kind of need to step back a little bit and see, where is it that I'm sort of restricting myself? Where is it that I'm sort of depriving myself of something that I don't need to be depriving myself of? Because there's definitely, with the 14 energy, there's definitely something of, feeling like you're bondaged in some way, like you're restricted. And what I would invite you to do is take a closer look at, where is it that you might be restricting yourself, and where is it that you can release yourself from that bondage. So a lot of times, if we have, imposter syndrome, let's just use that. I don't know. But let's say if we have imposter syndrome, then we'll keep ourselves from putting ourselves out there in the area where we actually have the expertise, because we have that feeling of imposter syndrome. So we're actually creating a barrier or sort of this, again, self-imposed prison where there doesn't need to be one. And I do think this month is going to ask you to kind of look at that and find ways to alleviate the sort of challenges that you're bringing upon yourself. Now, because there will always be the challenges from life. Life will always present us with the challenges that we need to be able to learn what we need to learn and extract the wisdom. But we don't need to add to that with our own bars, so to speak. The other thing I would say is there could be some area, especially around relationships, where you're creating some kind of greater divide because of pride. And the reason why I say that is because of fly energy coming through. Whenever we have fly energy, there's something we're being prideful about. There's something where we're not willing to sort of swallow our pride, be the bigger person, show up to the situation in a much more understanding and compassionate way. And a lot of times this usually has to do with relationships, right? Where you think you're right, or maybe you are right, it's fine, but and you're kind of like, this is the hill I'm going to die on. And if my relationships suffer because of it, oh well. And I think that this energy coming through is to say, okay, it's not to invalidate the way that you feel. It's not to say that the experience didn't happen. But there's a time, especially as a 9, where you've got to look at, okay, but how can I make this situation better? Even if it's just energetically, sometimes we can't connect with the other person. Sometimes that's impossible for, our own mental health or our own safety. But we can certainly address how we're showing up to the energy of it, right? Did something happen 10 years ago that we're still beating ourselves up about, or that we're beating the other person up about energetically, right? We're still holding the grudge, we're holding the resentment, and we're not allowing ourselves to move on from it because of that pride. I'm not going to move on from this until I get an apology type of thing. Well, then you're probably not going to, it's very likely that you may not get that apology. And so you might be, like I said, on that hill until you die in that hill. So again, it's just an opportunity to take a closer look at where is it that you're being overly rigid in areas that are really affecting your life. It's not so much about like how it's affecting other people, although that's obviously a byproduct and something to be aware of. And you will, take accountability for that in other ways. But it's really about how it's affecting your life and how it's impeding your own movement forward and your own progression. And I think there will be some strong highlights this month to kind of show you where that is. And especially with fly energy coming through, it's like, where do you keep showing up to where do you continue to contribute towards or participate in things that make your life more difficult? And your job is to release those things that make your life more difficult. Whether, again, it's your faulty thought system or belief systems or whatever is holding you back, it's up to you to find a way to move through it, work with it, manage it, and release it. So very powerful, transformative month ahead for you all, for sure. But definitely just some things to take note of. If they show up for you, it's not to continue to, like sort of throw lemons at the wound. It's more to say, this is a trigger point for a reason, and let's explore it. Why is it a trigger point? Now, the other side of this 14-5 energy is you could feel kind of this tug of war or push and pull energy between things you really want to do this month and things that sort of you're obligated to do. And so it's finding that balance between work and fun and work and family life. And so that one's not sort of taking charge. So, there's definitely going to be things where you have to focus your energy, put in the effort, be committed, all of the things, show up, etc. And there are going to probably be some things that are mundane that you don't really want to pay attention to or show up for. But, it's life and we need to do those things. But there's also this invitation this month for some beautiful opportunities to just experience life with all your senses, to really dive in, to explore, to travel, to have fun, to, just really experience life this month and find your joy and the joy of doing that, right? Throwing caution to the wind and just not being so serious and just enjoying. So if you have an opportunity to do something that really lights you up, that makes you happy, that brings you joy, this is a great month to do that for sure. Don't let the seriousness of life sort of impede on the joy of life. And this month will remind you how to find your joy and to experience that. Let's see. The other thing, 5 energy can always bring in change and transformation. It's a very change agent type of energy. So you could see a lot of changes come in this month. And I would say anytime we move through a 5 cycle, surrender, go with the flow, see where the energy takes you. Definitely be curious. Don't be too quick to dismiss. Don't try to force anything this month. 5 energy is a really tough energy to force anything through because we may see it in our mind the way we want it to be, but the 5 usually has something else in mind and it's going to take us there. So there's no kind of like fighting the current this month. It's more about like, picking up the oar, getting in the boat, letting the current take you and see where it leaves you. And then once you land, then you can kind of, take stock of the landscape, figure it out and make plans from there. But definitely this is a month for surrender. Go with the flow. Don't try to force anything. See what life presents you and decide how to work with it. Also be careful about being too impulsive this month, but definitely follow your curiosity. See where it takes you. Let your inner child lead and you will get so much out of this month. It will be so much fun, so much fun. So I hope it's a great month. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.